I was the youngest girl child in the ashram, and I'm still alive.
And you're still the youngest.
I think
You're
all
09.
of them have departed. Maybe Meru's sister is still alive, but I'm not too sure. Otherwise, I'm the only one left who has lived with Baba in the ashram. I was very lucky. I led a very charmed life, it's wonderful being with Baba. I came to Baba because of my parents. Mainly it was my father who was always searching for God. See, he had a very sad childhood because his mother died when he was very little. And grandfather got married again so that the lady would look after his son. But she didn't like him at all, and she was very cruel to him. Really, it's like that Cinderella stepmother, very cruel. She would throw him down the stairs. She would bang his head against the wall. Yes, physically. He was always battered, and when Grandpa came home in the evening, he used to see the child was always bleeding or bruised, and she used to say, oh, he's up to tricks, he's always climbing stairs and running up and down, and that's how he keeps falling. But she used to hurt him. But to this day, my father has never told us this story. My mother told us.
Oh, sorry.
He was so wonderful that I remember after hearing the story, my sister and I were very cross. And both of us one day were talking about how very cruel that stepmother was to my father. And you know what, my father, he was very angry with us. He said, no, Naju, Hilla, you're not going to talk against my stepmother, because do you know, she is my first guru. Because if it wasn't for the suffering I had at her hands, I would never have searched for God. You understand? Even today, when I think of it, it makes me cry. He was such a wonderful person. He wouldn't allow us to talk about him at all.
And how did your father find my father?
My
From his
father,
wife,
you
his
see,
watchman.
what happened was, because he was a sad child, he used to ask his father. He was a lovely man, his father, my grandpa. And he was a priest in the community. I come from the priest class. We have those several class systems in India. Anyway, so he used to always ask my grandpa, he said, Dad, what is love? Where does love come from? So Grandpa said, love, true love, only comes from God. So that God, now then he started his search for God. He thought in his mind, his little mind, I can find him. Somehow I've got to find God in his life. And that was his quest. After that he was all the time searching for God. And my father went to so many gurus, so many sadhus, and so-called babas, so many babas there are over there, But he just was not satisfied until he went to a perfect master, and the perfect master told him that, look, who you are searching lives in Ahmednagar, Mehrabad. You go to that guru, that Baba, Meher Baba in Mehrabad, this is whom you are searching for. And as soon as he went and set eyes on Baba, that's it. He found what he was seeking all his life.
Which perfect master?
And he found that love he wanted. And Baba was so loving with my father, right from the beginning till the end. He was always very loving with my father. And of course with us as well. I was not a holy child. My
You go, Hilla.
well, my sister, my older sister, she was totally Baba's. From the minute she set eyes on him, that's it. She was devoted to him till her last breath. But for me, I mean, I knew Baba is God. I have no qualms about that. I knew 100% Baba is God. But how to worship him, how to be holy and things like that, it doesn't come to me naturally. So I was just me, but the funny thing is that Baba would always show more love towards me than towards my sister or the other children who were very devoted to him. It's not funny, you know why? Because I needed it. My father told me, I said to my father, Naju loves Baba so much, yet Baba only shows me such a lot of love. So he said, Hilla, don't you realize? Naju is totally his. He doesn't have to work on her. He has to work on you to get your love. And that is why only love can beget love. If you love someone, they'll love you back, isn't it? So he always showed me more love. And now, but he was really so wonderful. It's unbelievable because I was a very, very naughty schoolgirl in my school. Our Baba sent, you see, well, it all began when my father met Baba, and then he said, Baba, I want you to take me into your ashram with my wife and children. So Baba said, go and ask your wife if she's ready to come. So, of course, my mother had gone through hell previously for years with my father because his search for God was all the time this guru or that guru and that sadhu and this Baba and that Baba. And my poor mother, she really she loved him so much that she put up with all this nonsense. So at last when she met Baba, she realized too that this is the real one, because she had met all the other Babas as well. And but on the other hand, in the beginning she did not want my father to go and join him in the ashram. So she said, I'm going to have a word with this Mayor Baba. I mean, she made up her mind that why are you taking my husband away from me, because Dad had now decided that I found my Baba, I'm going to follow him and that's it. So then she was pregnant at the time with my sister, and my sister is 4 years older than me, was 4 years older, she's passed away last year. And she came to Baba, and the Mandli were there, and they said, sorry, you won't be able to visit Baba today because he's gone to visit someone far away and he won't be back soon. She said, I don't care what time he's going to come back, even if it's middle of the night, I'm going to stay here until I meet Mayor Baba. So she just sat down there waiting for him. She had her head down, and because my mother was very ill, since father used to behave like that, constantly with some guru or something. First of all, she had to marry him after fighting with all her family because they didn't want him to marry her. They had chosen some other guy for her. See, she came from a very aristocratic Parsi family. My father was an ordinary banker. He didn't come from any aristocratic family. And so they thought, what is she marrying an ordinary banker? Because, bank manager for them is nothing much. They wanted her to marry someone from the aristocracy. And she said, no, if I marry anyone, I'll marry Savak. So against their wishes, she married him. And then as soon as she married him, within 6 months he was after the gurus. He didn't want nunnis anymore, he wanted the gurus. So she couldn't understand what was going on in her life. And she said, I went against all my family's wishes. And they realized, they used to come home and they realized that dad was never there, that things are not working. Though she wouldn't complain, but they realized something was going on. So then she made up her mind, I'm going to this Meher Baba, because now he hardly comes to see me. Over the weekends, as soon as he finished at the bank, he would take the train, go straight to Ahmednagar, visit Baba over the weekend, come back again to Bombay Sunday night. So my mother hardly saw. So she said, I'm going to have it out with him now. So she sat there waiting. Hardly she sat for 10 minutes when someone walked past her. She said, I had my head down. I just saw a white figure going into the room, and somebody came to me and said, Baba has arrived and he wants to see you. So she said that I went inside and Baba was sitting down, and there was, it was like a garden and there was a lot of space next to him. So he told my mother, come and sit next to me. He said. And my mother said, no. She took a chair and put it in front of him and she said that. She said, no, I'm not sitting next to you, I'm going to sit here. Because I've got to talk to you about this. You've taken away my husband, and I'm pregnant, and I'm ill, and he never comes to see me, doesn't care how I am, or he doesn't, we were so much in love, and it's all the time some guru, some Baba, somebody or the other, but it's not me. And she said, what is this? What is the matter with you? And she started to cry. And she couldn't stop crying. Baba gathered her in his arms, brought her next to him and made her sit down there. And he just held her very, very close and comforted her. She said, from then on, I was Baba's. He just put his arms around her and comforted her like a mother. And the first words she said, I found my mother at last. She had lost her mother when she was a young girl, and she adored her mother. And she said, when Baba embraced me, I got my mother back. It's strange, these were her words. I found my mother, she said. And then she fell madly in love with Baba as well. So when Baba told my father, go and ask Nargis, what do you want to do? So my mother told him, okay, you want to go to Baba's ashram? I'll follow you. I'll come with the children. By then she had 3 children by the time he decided to go and stay with them. Because at first, when Naju was born, she was a very sickly child because she had pregnancy and she was crying all the time for my father and all. But then when Baba said to her, don't worry, everything will be fine. So when I was born, I was a very happy child, full of fun and laughter and giggles and mischief and all sorts of things. And my sister was always very quiet. Her nature was to be quiet. She would sit down and read a book quietly. She has never ever made any trouble in the house, or she never got into any trouble. Even when we went to we were put into convent school by Baba when we first went to the ashram. But I was talking about my mother. So my mother said to my father, okay, if you want to go and live in Baba's ashram, yes, I'm willing to come and stay with you in the Baba's ashram. Because I do believe that he is special. She knew that there was something very special about Baba. So she had a couple of relatives who, you won't believe it, but the family she came from, they were extremely wealthy. The husband and wife each had a Rolls Royce with 2 English drivers.
No.
And she had an English housekeeper. They were very, very wealthy, that kind of wealth, So they told my mother, don't be stupid, don't you follow your husband, you come and live with us, because they had no children and they used to look on my mother like their daughter. You come and live with us. They had a very big, beautiful bungalow in Bombay. And they said, you come and stay with us. with all of your children, we'll educate them, we will look after them, but don't you go to Mehrabad with your husband. Then my mother told them, look, I love you all. You've always been like my parents, but I got married to Savak because I fell in love with him. And my love will take me wherever he goes. I can't leave him. I'm not going to leave him. I'm sorry. I know that it's going to be hard in the ashram for me. They said, do you realize what life you have in the ashram? You're used to luxury and you're going to the ashram, you know. For them, they thought it was the end of the world. But it was wonderful in the ashram. It was just the beginning, you know, it was so beautiful. I enjoyed my life in the ashram, and I know that my sister and my little brother, we all had a lovely time with other children. There were other children. There was Meru and Nagu and Jangu, Meru's little brother, and Sarwar and her sister, and who else? And yeah, Temi used to come and visit. Temi was Adi Senior's niece, but she would come during the holidays and stay in the ashram with us. So we had lots of children to play with, and you know, we had such fun. Not only that, I was loved by all the ashramites. Oh, they were all like mothers to me. You know, I had such a wonderful life because I had so much love growing up. You know, so many people, they have never known what real love is from anyone. And I had love from all those probably 40 ladies who were there. They were all like my aunts, you know, and they all used to gather me in their arms and hug me tight. And even today, if I meet someone, I just hug them. Because I'm so used to it. You know, we were all huggers in the ashram. And apart from Rano and Mansari, I was always scared of them. Because Mansari, with the thick glasses she used to have, and she used to stare at us. She didn't like children. She liked my sister because she was good, but she didn't like the other children if they were up to mischief. And I was very scared of her because of the way she would glare at me. And it so happened that every time if Baba wanted Mansari, he used to call me and say, go and call Mansari. I said, why on earth is he asking me? He can tell Naju or Adi or any other child. The others are also there, but if Baba tells you something, immediately you fall. I said, oh my God, now I've got to go and call her. So she was always in the kitchen. And I came from Baba's room and I would go into the, you know, you've seen Mehrabad, those who have seen Mehrabad, where we used to have our dinner and Baba's Gadi is there. Yeah. And Mansari's room used to be next to the kitchen, which was Baba's kitchen. And she would be always there. So from outside I would call out to her, Mansari. And she would come glaring at me. What is it? You know, always cross. I think it was just a facade. She was such a sweetheart afterwards.
It really was. She had such a tough time. She wasn't allowed to go over the railway tracks. She lived for years up there. She wasn't allowed to go over the top time. But she was on her own.
I think she didn't like children.
She was very small.
She was so tiny. She was so sweet, cute little lady, but very powerful. Oh my God!
She killed a snake in the samadhi. She was very, very powerful. She was in charge of the samadhi. Barbara said she had to stay and she could never go past the railway track. So the whole of her life, the last 30 years, she lived up on the hill. Amazing.
And she was not one for taking walks either.
No,
she never went walking around the hill or anything. She just confined herself to her quarters and that's it. And of course she did a lot of service there because she used to roll out the chapati. You know, they had to make 200 chapatis a day. And my mother had to roll out the chapatis and Mansari had to put it onto the wok and, you know, turn it over, about 200 chapatis at a time for their dinner. And there were no fans, boiling hot. My mother couldn't stand the heat. So whatever you couldn't do, Baba will make you do. He always would rub your nose on the ground and make you do exactly what you don't want to do. So my mother was given the duty of rolling out the chapatis, and in that heat, and she used to be perspiring, there were no fans, just a little window, and she was not used to working so hard either, but she never ever complained, and that's what Baba really appreciated her so much, that she never complained. And another thing is that she was a clown. My mother, they used to have little skits just to amuse Baba. Mani would, his sister would have little skits, and my mother always took part in that because she was a great actress, my mother, and Baba would be rolling with laughter at the way she would talk. Gujarati is a very funny language, spoken by Parsi, only when it's spoken by Parsi. I must add that. And she was so funny. And purposely Mera and Mani would dress her up in funny costumes, and she had to act before Baba. We all had to act and, show our talents, because Baba had such a lot of spiritual work. But just to make his life a bit lighter, Mera and Mani would always have little concerts for Baba. Always, every week, once a week, we always had concerts. And I was always in the concert because I loved acting. I think in my previous life I must have been an actress because I loved acting. And so we did whatever we were told to do, we would do. And I remember one day, they said, Hilla, you can dance well, now do the hula dance, before Baba. He loved it. So they made this lovely grass skirt for me, And I was just...
Hilla, do the hula.
Then what happened was, at that time, I was maturing. So under my arms, my little hairs were growing. Now Katie said, you can't dance with your hair showing on your head. So I said, and we had no razors in those days. So she grabbed me, took me to the kitchen, took some ashes and put the ashes on the mat and started pulling out. Screaming and screaming. And Mani and Mera were wondering why they were screaming in the kitchen. I had to suffer pain for Baba because so that I looked okay,
Tell us about
it. Was
the
so
small
funny.
box and the bag she'd been.
I'll come to that later. That was much later. And then I did the hula dance and Baba really loved it. And then he gathered me in his arms and he kissed me on both cheeks. And then I felt good. But after all that torture. Anyway, we used to have I think the children, we used to enjoy our life in the ashram. But I used to get into trouble because I was always thinking of some mischief or something to do. Once it rained very, very heavily in Nagar. And children were at that time bored, sitting indoors because we couldn't go out. Then I said, come on. Once the rain stopped, I said, come on, let's... in Mehrabad, as you enter the gate, there's a line of trees on the left. Now, when we were there were little saplings. We were tiny and the trees were about that much. So what I said, come on, we'll have some fun. So all we children, 6, 7 of us, under the tree, and then I would shake the tree and all the water would fall on us, And it was fun. I mean, we didn't have toys to play with or anything. So just whatever fun we could do, we would do. And like that, about 6 saplings By the time we were all thoroughly somebody spotted us and went to my mother and said, your Hilla is shaking the trees and all the children are getting wet and you better do something. So my mother grabbed my ear and pulled me inside. Oh, she used to be vicious with me.
Like
Took
our
me
Krishna.
inside and said, what is this? You're soaking wet and all the other children are soaking. So their families also took all the children and dried them and put on clean clothes. But I had such a whacking from my mother before she let me go. And I used to say, and I used to get cross with my sister because she wouldn't join us. And I would say, why are you such a goody-goody? Because you're a goody-goody, I get into more trouble. Mom then grabs me and hits me and does all sorts of things, pulls my ears, etc. But poor Naju, she just didn't know how to be naughty. She just didn't know. Because even when we were put into boarding schools, my sister and I, and even the nuns over there used to say, can't understand, one mother gives birth to a devil and an angel at the same time. How on earth did this happen?
Angels and demons.
They couldn't believe why one devil and one angel, because Naju was so good. She deserved it, man. She was so good that she deserved the praise she used to get. And she would all the time just read. She was a bookworm. She would love to read and never ever got into any trouble or mischief or anything. I was always thinking about what next we can do to... I was very curious as a child because the nuns were bald, they said, and they used to have a habit and then a long veil. And I wanted to know what it is to be bald. So I said, somebody said, they have no hair, really? They don't have... But I said, how are we going to ever see it? So what I used to do, I climbed the tree. I was always climbing trees in those days. Climbed the tree, and as soon as I saw that this nun used to pass by the tree every day at that particular time. So I climbed the tree, waited for her. I jumped down and I pulled her veil down. They were pretending that I was grabbing onto something.
And then what happened?
Her veil came off, but she had a tight cap under it. So I never did see it.
When she was put up,
Of course, I got such a caning afterwards. I got such a caning.
you were pulled up by the
I said,
principal.
yes, but I fell down. I didn't know what I was grabbing.
What planning?
I was very, very wicked. I know I'm very wicked as a child. I was still curious because I hadn't seen it. And one night, one nun used to sleep in our dormitory, right at the corner. But she had curtains right around the bed. So I said, one night, I waited till everybody went to sleep. A couple of friends of mine said, oh, go and see what it looked like. So I quickly, when the nun had gone in, say about 10 minutes had passed. So I said, she's gone in, now she'll take off her cap. I will be able to see her. So I quickly, quietly picked up the curtain of her bed and looked at her, but she didn't take off the cap. She went to bed.
Can we get back to Mayor Barbara? How did you?
No,
How
then she was pulled up by the principal.
And
then Baba heard about it.
No, luckily nobody saw me. I quietly went back to my bed. Otherwise, I would have been in real trouble then.
Did you ever know that Barbara knew you were this naughty?
Yes, because Naju would write letters, and my mother would take the letter and show it to Baba. See what Hilla has done today? This is what Naju has written. I'm just fed up, she used to say, to Baba. And Baba used to say, and what were her marks? How did she stand in a class? How did she stand in a class? Baba had told us that we had to stand among the first four.
Oh, really?
Oh yes, always. So Mom said, well, she stood first. I always stood first.
In every subject?
Yeah, I was first. I was the first class, first student. So my mother would say, see, the Baba used to say, and instead of getting cross with me, Baba would question my mother. Show me her report. What did Naju say? What was the report? Well, she stood first. Then you know, what are you on about her? She's just high-spirited.
Is that what he
Baba said, she's just high-spirited. and my mother told me, you spoiled brat. She'd hold me by my ear and pull it. You spoiled brat. Baba spoiled you so much. Can't complain. She couldn't complain to anybody else, could she?
Why are you so brilliant? You just study so easily. It's
Just
easy.
very easy. I had a photographic memory. I would just read once and it was in my mind. You know? That's why I think I haven't yet got senile.
Oh my God. Don't say that. Don't.
Because by now I would be forgetting so many things. I still know how to go home. Running around, looking around is where is my home. And anyway, so Baba used to spoil me really. And Mom, every time she complained, Naju would write a letter, she's done this to the nun, she's done that, she climbed the wall, she climbed the wall to get the ball, she throws the ball outside the wall, we were not allowed to go outside. I wanted to see what the world was like outside. So when we were playing the ball, I would throw it up over the wall, there was a 6-foot wall. And then I would go out because I had to get the ball back.
Of course.
And and there were other school children from other schools. They would be lined up over there. And I'd be waving out to them and talking to them and laughing and then bring the ball in. Just to see the world outside, you know. We were so sheltered in the convent, it was not true, honestly. Anyway, so the time passed and eventually Naju finished her senior Cambridge. I was still in my junior. She was 4 years older than me, see. So Baba said, no, I won't send you to this boarding school. I'll send you where another Baba lover was there in Pune, Jesus and Mary Convent, to do your studies over there. So Naju finished her course. She went to America to do her. She became a professor in nursing, and Baba sent her over there. And
Did he finance everything, your education?
I think so. I think Kitty, not Kitty, Elizabeth
Ah,
and
Norina.
the lady Norina,
Yeah.
they must have.
Oh,
because-
incredible.
yes, and she went there and she had shared a wonderful, wonderful time. She was so good. I mean, everybody loved her, and she was a lovely person altogether. And just totally Baba's, totally. She lived and breathed Baba. I wasn't like that. I mean, I love Baba. He's my Baba, he's my God. I know that 100%. But that devotion which Naju had, I don't have that devotion which Naju had. She was just simply, she was like Mother Teresa type of person, you know. How on earth did one sister be like me and then her like Mother Teresa? It's such a contrast that everyone used to notice the contrast. And I think I
Even
used-
look-wise, you were quite different look-wise too.
yeah, very different look-wise. She was more like my father, I was more like my mom. But she was a wonderful, wonderful girl, and Baba had always told my mother that this Naju, when she grows up, she's going to be really a very good person. And she did look after all of us. She looked after my mother, my father. First my father died and then my mother. And then when I lost my brother and his wife, she took care of their son. So she really was the backbone of our family, my Naju. She's just She was so wonderful. And we were very close, Naju and I were very close. In spite of being so different, we were very close. As we grew up, we were closer and closer as we grew up. Because then I was a little less mischievous, you know, anyway. So I do miss her to this day, I miss her very much. But later on in life she got Alzheimer's, which was very, very sad that she was having Alzheimer's. Because such a brilliant girl, she was such a brilliant girl. But it comes to all of us, you know, sometimes. Hope it doesn't come to me. Anyway, so that was that lovely charmed childhood in the ashram. Every day we'd get to see Baba, and we all used to have our little stools and we'd sit on the stool and Baba would give talks and all that. But one day I thought, no, I'm getting very bored with this spiritual talk because it was just going way above my head. And Naju was intently listening and everybody else, so I quickly slipped away from there. I said, I'm not going to sit here quietly. My stool was right at the end, I just slipped out. And we used to have a zoo in the ashram. I loved the animals. To this day I love animals. And so many different types of animals we used to have in little cages, you know. So I would go and play with the parrots and the other birds, and I think there was a goat, there was a deer, there was a donkey, there was a horse. You know, there were several lovely little animals, and I loved animals. I used to go and pat them, put my hand through and pat them and all. So I'd rather be with the animals than listen to Baba. Can you imagine? And anyway, then there was a monkey, Nurina, Princess Nurina had a monkey. It was a vicious little fellow. And she was in the Lucky, its name was Lucky. It wasn't lucky for me, I assure you. She was in her cage, and suddenly she broke free. I was teasing her with a stick. And she was so angry with me. Suddenly she broke loose and she chased me. And can you imagine? You know, it was pitch silence. Baba is having a very serious talk. Everybody's listening quietly. And then suddenly they hear this screaming. Like a child running and screaming. And everybody didn't know what was happening. They were looking around, what is going on? And Nurina realized that the monkey was chasing me. She saw. And she immediately grabbed the monkey before it grabbed me.
Oh my God.
And I was dragged to Baba by my ear by my mother because I was on the floor. I was bleeding. Because over there was only sand, you know. And the sandstones were quite high, quite strong. So I was bleeding like anything from my face, my hands. And Baba called me. I said, oh gosh, now I've had it today. Baba said, come and sit beside me. He made me sit on his gadi beside him. Then he told Rana, go and get the first aid kit. So Rana went and got the first. Because Rana was always in charge of the medicines. So Rana brought the first aid kit and she started to, Baba said, no, you leave, I'll do it. And he took the cotton wool and he cleaned all my wounds himself. All my face, my hands, all the blood he removed. And then he applied some balm on something on my hand. I don't know what it was at the time. I know it wasn't iodine because I would have screamed. But something which soothed my hands and my face. And then he took my face in his arms like that, his beautiful hands, and he said, you did that to me. He didn't
you've been so naughty.
No, he never, to this day, he has never ever got cross with me, no matter what I did. So my mother used to say, you are a spoiled brat. She was the only one who would be tweaking my ears, or pulling my hand or something. She would always pinch me or something because I couldn't sit still. Every now and then I would get a pinch. I couldn't sit still. But she was a lovely mother. I adored my mother, mind you. She wasn't a vicious woman. It's just that I was so naughty, she didn't know how to control me, poor thing. So she would pinch me or she would tweak my ears. And that's how it was. Baba never ever got cross with me for being a naughty girl, or even when he came to know that we all were drenched, all the children were drenched and all that. Not once did he say anything to me, you see. He too was a naughty boy probably when he was young. He must have been, because he enjoyed it. I think he used to enjoy listening to all that. Naturally, because see his work, everything was so spiritual and so sort of, what shall I say? What word would I use?
Intense.
It was too intense. So there has to be some laughter,
Yes.
Something grounding.
some happiness, some joy, something, to make life a bit lighter. And Baba understood that she's only a little girl. And she's never going to be like Naju. Naju was 4 years older anyway. And she just, as Baba said, she's high-spirited. So don't go on complaining about her, he told my mother. Then she stopped doing it.
As you got older and you grew out of this a little bit,
Yeah.
you're still a bit naughty.
And if there's anything naughty to be done, I'd be the first one.
How did your relationship with Baba develop? Like when you had to come and live in the UK, did you
No,
ever
what-
realise who he was? I mean, you
Well,
loved
I
him.
knew he was God. That's about
You
all.
just
I
knew
just know he is God. Right from the minute I set eyes on him. This is Meher Baba. He's my God. He's all our God, Baba is God. That's it. We just accepted it. And I wouldn't know any different. And I know he was God because he was. He certainly was, You see what happened now, when we were in Hyderabad, I was very vain as a child because all the aunties, oh, you're so beautiful, my Hindu is so beautiful, and they would kiss me and hug me. So it went to my head. I'm beautiful now. And in Hyderabad, Baba had come to stay in Hyderabad, a beautiful bungalow. I think Donkin had found that lovely bungalow for him. And unfortunately, I got smallpox. So I was put into an infirmary, and till 15 days you have to be in the infirmary. When that was over, Baba sent Vishnu Master, one of his Baba's mandali, to go and collect me and bring me to the Banjara Hills where he was staying, in that beautiful, I'll never forget that beautiful home. It was so beautiful. It had a gorgeous swimming pool and all too. And so we went there, but I was crying all the time because I had become so ugly with the smallpox marks. Have you ever seen smallpox marks on anybody?
Yes.
Because they leave dents into your whole face. My whole body was full of marks and I didn't look pretty anymore. So I was crying and someone told Baba, Hilla is all the time crying. Baba said, Hilla is crying? No, I've never seen her crying. Bring her to me. So I went to him like this. I wouldn't let him see my face because I said, my God. Baba always said I was beautiful. And now he's going to say, oh, she's ugly, So I didn't want him to see my face. I covered my face and I was crying. And Baba says, he took my hands off my face and he said, what's the matter with you? Why are you crying? I said, look how ugly I am now. You always said I was beautiful, everybody said I was pretty, and now look how ugly I've turned out. I don't want to see anybody's face, I don't want anyone to see me. Is that all you're worried about? He says. I said, yes, it means a lot to me. So he was so sweet. He So he took his hands and he rubbed my whole face so gently and so beautifully like that, and on my shoulders. And he said, go, you'll be okay. You won't believe it. Within 5 days, my pox marks had gone. It never goes. It is with you for the rest of your life. If you have smallpox. Chicken pox, it goes, but not smallpox. And I had smallpox, and I was really ugly then. And then it all went away. Within a week, it had gone. And then Baba again took my face in his arms and, you're beautiful.
That's quite amazing, isn't it? He indulged you
He
so
indulged
much.
me. I don't know why.
Because he
I
didn't
haven't
indulge
got a clue.
everybody. Oh, that's amazing.
It must have been my past life. I was yearning to be with him, I might have been a holy person in my past life. I don't know. Could be.
Amazing.
But that's what my mother used to say. He spoiled you rotten. She always used to say that to me. Never got cross with me, no matter what mischief I got up to, no matter what the nuns would write and tell my mother or complain about, always complains wherever I was. But Baba never once scolded me.
Hilla, we're going to stop
Yes.
in about
Fine,
5-10 minutes. I just want to ask, out of all the memories you have with him, because obviously when you were born he was there, in fact he was in your tummy, he was in your mother's tummy, which is the one that stands out the most for you? Like when you're getting older now and you're living your life here in the UK and you've got your grandchildren.
He's all the time in my eyes, in my mind. I can see him all the time.
You can actually physically
He's always in my mind, continuously. I keep repeating his name when I'm doing nothing, I keep repeating his name. All the time. He's always there, he's always around. I look out of the window and I can see him in the trees. I see him in my garden. He's, in the bushes. I can't explain.
No,
I promise you I'm not lying.
no, I understand.
I'm not exaggerating. But I see him everywhere.
Yeah, Hilla, just 2 days back, I listened to Mr. Pratap Ahil's video. Not the audio, it was a session they had.
Yeah.
And he spoke about your family.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, he
Right.
spoke about the Kotwal family. And I'll send it if you all want the link so
Yes,
that you
please,
all can listen to it. And one of the stories he mentioned was that your mother used to make rotis in
Yeah.
the kitchen. She used to make.
Yeah.
And she always used to feel very sad about it. She used to think that here I am, making rotis in this heat where everyone else is enjoying eating the rotis. And look at me.
Yeah.
And she would only say it to herself.
Yes.
And then one day, a couple of days later, when she was thinking about it all the
Yeah,
time,
yeah.
she suddenly found Baba standing behind her. And Baba just came to her and said, Nargis, you're so beautiful. And he said the minute he said that one
She started to
sentence,
cry. She started to cry.
she started to cry,
She
and
was
all the
sobbing.
feelings of, anger and grumbling to herself, she said it just disappeared.
But she said that, Baba said, why are you crying, Nargis? She said, Baba, all these years I've lived with my husband, not once did he ever say I was beautiful. And my mother was beautiful. But not once, he never saw the beauty in her. Because he was in another world, altogether. So that's why she cried. She wept so much because she
It's
said,
a beautiful
when Baba said that to
session
me,
with Mr. Hayat.
It's
So
beautiful.
many stories he narrated about your family.
It is.
Yeah, lovely.
Yes, we had such a wonderful life with Baba and such experiences, and it was, as I said, we had a charmed life. It was wonderful. And I just drown myself in it when I'm alone also. I'm never alone because he's always there with me. He's not far away. He's always there, He's always there. If I look out, I can see him in the trees. If I look at my garden, I can see him among the flowers. I can see him. I promise you.
there have been times, and I know there have been many times in your life where you've had ill health, where you've had great loss. I mean, tremendous losses. I mean, serious losses where your faith could have been challenged, particularly with your brother. But what would you say now to anybody here with what we're going through? And you know what we're going through. I know you're very aware of the
everyone
news.
goes through.
Yeah, but I know you're very aware of the news
Yeah.
and you're very up to date on general media. But people now, the time that we're going through now, do you have any feelings on it? Because there's an awful lot being stripped away at the moment. And have you anything that you could say that could help in some way, you know, to just give some perspective?
But Baba did say that things will get worse before they get better. So what can I say? You have to expect the worst, and then after the worst has come and gone, things are going to get better. But he will always take care of his folk. Don't ever forget that. You call out to him and he will grab you. Even if you're falling, he'll grab you. I promise you that. It's happened to me many, many times. You call out to him and he's there with his arms open to grab you. He's going to do the same. I'm not anything special. You're just as special as I am to him. So he will also grab you. It's your love, your faith. You must keep holding on to Baba's Daman. Don't ever give up, no matter what trials you go through. We've all been through hell and back. But our faith has never wavered, never. And if you cling on to him, at the end of your life you will realize how beautiful life was, really. You know? I promise you that. Just keep repeating his name, that's all. He keeps saying, he used to tell her, keep repeating my name, think of me. You just drown yourself in him. And you see automatically everything will work out just fine in your life. This is how I found my life. And I've been a wicked girl. But
not
he's made things easy for me. Made things right
Wicked
for
society
me. He has been very good to me.
Well, oh, Hilla, we are so fortunate to have you here at this wonderful age and this new book when it comes out. We can't wait to read it. Yeah. And she's so much fun. But every day I get really naughty messages from this one. Well, you too, right? Isn't it? She can come up with messages that are quite raunchy.
Raunchy.
Oh, very.
She's unique. She's full of love.
Yeah.
She's just a diamond.
Yeah, I know. Thank you
Thank
for
you,
coming
Elizabeth.
today with her. Thank you.
Thank you, Baba. I hope you enjoyed my talk.
Yes.
Enjoy. Presents like just lighted.